Day coverage continues now with a look at the local nonprofit, the Xtreme Couture GI Foundation. Established in 2009, the 501c3 raises money and awareness for those wounded in action and their families. Its founder, a 6-year U.S. Army veteran and a mixed martial arts legend, Randy Couture, joins us now. Randy, welcome to Nevada Week.
Thanks. Good to be here.
So, as I mentioned, you started this nonprofit in 2009. It's been more than 10 years. You are helping the financial needs of our veterans who have been wounded in action. I wonder, over that time period, have their needs, their struggles changed, or is it the same old, same old?
I think it's the same. I mean, the VA is slowly making adjustments. Obviously, in the previous administration cleaned some things up there, but there's still a big struggle, and we hear a lot of those woes from a lot of our veterans from both Xtreme Couture and emerging veteran players. And I think the problem is numbers. I mean, it was a 20-year war on terror since 9/11. That's a lot of folks putting themselves in harm's way, coming back, trying to find a way to transition after being wounded, after going through multiple surgeries, learning to walk again. The list goes on and on. So that's our goal, is to try and help those folks, take at least some of the financial pressure off them while they're in that state and going through that transition.
What are some of those woes you were mentioning?
Well, I mean, in '06, I got to go to Iraq and spent 12 days on the ground over there. And as a former soldier, it was pretty stark and interesting to be in a battlefield, to see those guys doing the things I took an oath and trained to do and never had to do, thankfully, in the '80s. I'm a Cold War vet. It's a joke I say all the time. But and then in '06, '07, I got to go to Walter Reed in Bethesda and actually meet a bunch of soldiers fresh off that battlefield after being injured, after being wounded. And it was there you hear the horror stories. Well, Mom's been down here for 6 months while I'm going through my surgeries, learning to walk again. Her car's in the parking garage with a boot on it. We can't afford to pay the tickets to get the boot off of it so she can go back to work. I mean, stupid little things like that that are just infuriating for a lot of these folks that are in this state and trying to get themselves back right to transition to normal life. And so it's those folks we're targeting. We've expanded our mission over the years. We've created a portal on the website so guys that are struggling with their bills and trying to stay flush can go in and fill out that paperwork and present me that bill, and I'll pay that bill off and get it off their back. You know, just alleviate some stress in their lives and help them out.
You provide up to $5,000 in assistance, does not have to be repaid. The need for that financial assistance right now versus in years past, has it changed?
It's extremely difficult right now for a lot of folks, not just our veterans. I think with the current economy and all the other stuff that's going on in our society right now, it's a very difficult time for a lot of folks. So certainly our veterans population struggles with the same things. It's tougher to fill the gas tank, tougher to put groceries on the table right now.
Could you put a number on how many applications you're getting?
Gosh, it's you know, the portal's very active. I don't track all that stuff. I would go crazy trying to track all that, but we you know, we're doing the best we can, and we're helping as many as we can.
The need is significant. U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant, who your nonprofit helped, wrote on your website that several veterans organizations had refused to help her because she either wasn't homeless or in an unstable relationship. How common is that story?
That's very common as well, and we've helped several that were in that. You know, they weren't bad enough off that some of these foundations take care of folks that are in a rougher situation, but they still needed a hand up. They still needed some extra help, and we're happy to fill that void.
Yeah. You also help mentally in addition to financially. That same Air Force Staff Sergeant wrote that when she was given the money, she had to sign something or make some sort of a promise. And what is that promise, and why do you have them do that?
Well, obviously, we're not trying to enable anybody. So in the portal, you have to present me that bill. I'm not just going to hand you cash and hope that you do the right thing. And I think that can be an issue, especially combat veterans, adrenaline-seeking, self-medicating. A lot of times the VA wants to slap an opioid or an antidepressant on, and we know the side effects to those, so the problem just continues to compound. So it's hard to put stats and numbers to it. Obviously, we're talking about 22 a day that we lose to PTSD and suicide, which is a ridiculous number, frankly. It's never going to be zero, but that's, and I think that's probably a light number. So doing the best we can to help these folks let people know they're not alone. Our training is our worst enemy. You know, we're trained to soldier on, not complain, not show vulnerability, or ask for help, get the job done. And that sometimes can be our biggest enemy, our own selves. So changing that narrative. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to seek counseling, to get some professional help, to develop more tools and put those tools in the tool belt to deal with the struggles of that transition, to deal with everyday life in some regards. So we found some counselors that want to help, and so we'll buy 10 block sessions to those folks that need a little extra help, professional help. MVP is great for the peer-on-peer counseling. I guarantee you somebody in the circle has struggled with what you're struggling with right now. So I would rather hear from that guy that took the same oath I took, you know, than some psychiatrist that, you know, wants to tell me how broken I am. That peer-on-peer is very, very powerful, but sometimes you need that extra professional help to develop those new tools and new frame for those situations so that you can deal with things a little more effectively.
You bring up MVP, Merging Vets and Players. It's such a unique program because it's veterans with ex-professional athletes coming together to work out and then discuss the transition that they've made into normal life. How is that program going?
We're in 9 cities now across the country. The Vegas chapter was the second chapter. We started in LA with Jake Glazier and Nate Boyer. Nate was a Green Beret, an aspiring football player playing at University of Texas while he was still on active duty. And through Jay and I's MMA athletics program, kind of got him geared up and got him a tryout with the Seahawks, and he ended up making the team as a long snapper. It was a pretty amazing story, and he's a pretty amazing guy. And through that process of recognizing the transition issues for both athletes and veterans and the mutual respect both those groups have for each other, it was a no-brainer to kind of bring them together, get them working out again, get them in the gym sweating, which breaks down some barriers and creates a connection that you don't have with just anybody walking around. And then sitting on the mats after those workouts and talking, letting the demons out in a safe place where there's only us. We speak a very particular language as both athletes and veterans, and I've been both. So it's a remarkable place. The demons come out. They let those things out into the light of day. They don't like that. They hate that, in fact. And so being in a safe place with people you're comfortable with, where you can open up and let some of that stuff out, that you can't even sometimes let your wife know some of the things you've seen and done, is pretty powerful.
Randy Couture, thank you so much for your service, for coming on the show. Thank you to our veterans, and we're going to have you stick around because you are going to be on Nevada Week in person. That airs on Saturday, November 11th at 6:30 p.m. Thank you for coming on, Randy.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.